Welcome to Influence Unpacked with Marian Balanoff, the series where we explore what drives success in influencer marketing for mobile apps and games. Influence Unpacked is powered by AppsFlyer, bringing you insights from top marketers who innovate, elevate, and succeed.
Today, I'm joined by Jessica, Head of Performance Marketing at Paired. Hi, Jessica. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Hey, hi. Thank you very much for inviting me. Super appreciate it.
Amazing. Before we get started with all my grilling questions about influencer marketing, can you present yourself and the app that you're marketing?
Sure. So, hi everyone. I'm Jessica. I'm the head of performance marketing at Paired. I started my journey into performance marketing almost 9 years ago now. I graduated in finance, but it wasn't really my jam, honestly. I love the data side of things, but yes, I think performance marketing allowed me to combine data with the creative part. And I started my journey in London. I moved there to work for a dating app. Then from London, I moved to Paris, working for the same company. And then I moved back to Milan, working for Penny Spoons, which is still within the B2C space and app space. There I work for different verticals, moving from health and fitness, video editing, photo editing, VPN. Really, I explore all the vertical possible. And it was a great place where I could indeed learn a lot on performance marketing across different networks as well. 3 years ago, I decided to move to Paired. Why? Because I wanted to challenge myself, start from scratch, start to work for a product where I could build something really from scratch in performance marketing. And yes, here I had the opportunity to, define the strategy for the company, build a team, and grow in my career as moving from senior performance marketing up to the head of performance marketing as I am right now. And like a couple of years ago, I also started working much more into influencer marketing, exploring this new channel as a sort of, in order to diversify a bit our media mix. We were relying too much on the paid social activity, Instagram, Meta, TikTok, and we wanted to indeed try something different, something new, and also have an impact on our brand awareness, brand category.
Thank you so much for this intro. And then can you tell us a bit more about Paired?
Sure. So Paired is a relationship care app for couples. The idea is to support the couples in their day-to-day life, starting with helping them communicate better, argue better as well, stay together, keep the connection live, spice up your intimacy. I mean, it can be used for so many different reasons. And our target is like in general couple, but in different stage of their relationship. It can be like early stage, so couple that just got together, or maybe couple that are getting married, or they are starting a family, or maybe they are even in a long-term relationship, 10 to 15, 16 years. So it can be used for so many different reasons. But the idea is to support those couples in a light, playful way. So it doesn't feel like a work, a job for the couple to stay connected, but you get this little question, quizzes, or games to play each day. And the fun part is that you cannot see your partner answer until you answer yourself. So it also safe place, to really share what you feel.
Not be influenced in a way.
Exactly, without being affected by your partner. I think this is the part that our audience and user base tend to enjoy the most.
I suppose your subscription lifespan might be quite long in the end, because you can use the app like throughout your whole life, and then you're not
Exactly.
gonna, end up facing the same challenges. So that can be really interesting, and having this as a sort of segue in the middle to be able to better communicate, as you said, like better argue and everything. All right, let's get into influencer marketing. I'd love to understand what is your setup at Paired. How many people are handling influencer marketing? If it's just you, if you have a team, if you handle everything internally, if you have agency partners, how many countries you're targeting. so we get an understanding of like the scope of what you're doing with influencer marketing.
Yeah, sure. So currently, I'm the one leading the influencer marketing activity. I'm collaborating with a specialized agency. So I'm working with two agencies for YouTube specifically, and one agency focused on podcast. Previously, we used to have extra support internally. We had an influencer marketing manager handling specifically collaboration with Instagram and TikTok influencer and creator. However, recently this person left, so we are focused mainly on YouTube and podcast and working with this agency.
In case anyone's hearing and you trying to find a job, then okay, contact Jessica.
Indeed. And we are looking for someone that can lead this project. So as I mentioned before, this person was mainly working on Instagram and TikTok, but recently we changed our strategy and now we are prioritizing podcast, YouTube. And it would be great to have someone with similar expertise that can take the project and scale it even further.
Okay, well, again, if anyone's listening to that.
Good point.
And you're looking for a job, you can reach out to Jessica. All right. So you've mentioned several platforms. You mentioned also a shift between platforms. Can you tell us about what you've tested and what didn't work, maybe, and then why you're shifting towards YouTube and then podcast?
Yeah, sure. So at the beginning, we started testing Instagram and TikTok. We built also an affiliate program. We tried different strategy, but nothing really worked out for us. It was either expensive if we wanted to go for a bigger fish, let's say, bigger influencer. We work with a really influencer with a million of followers, a million of views. CPM were quite high, and also the partnership was quite expensive. But eventually, the profitability, the return of investment wasn't really worth it. We tested different vertical, tried to figure it out the best approach there. But yes, it was either time consuming to look for actively, like internally, for influencers and creator. We were like reaching out hundreds of people every week, but then the response rate was really low. And also the collaboration with potentially other agency middlemen, let's say, it was hard. Was taking really long to close a deal, especially with big influencer, and it wasn't really worth it at the end. We weren't really able to scale the channel with decent results.
Did you find good quality traffic there? And the question was more because it was too expensive, so it wasn't profitable, or you didn't even see that good traction in those two platforms?
We didn't even see good traction, honestly. The only vertical where we found promising results was within the mental health or expertise around relationship care. Then yes, then they were expensive, but also the traffic quality, it was good because indeed it was aligned with our product, with our with the topic, let's say. Plus they were expertise, so people were trusting them, and eventually were trusting paired as well, and so the conversion was really good.
So really niche audiences that perform really well. Indeed, more expensive, but they make it for the price. But at the same time, unscalable, because there's not going to be thousands and thousands of influencers in those niches, and they're not going to make millions of views for you to grow that side of influence marketing. Okay, understood.
Exactly. On the other side, though, when we try to tested other vertical, we had also to be smart when it comes to the content itself. On TikTok and Instagram, you only have, let's say, top 30 seconds, but then you need to follow their style in order to gain similar views they have with their organic content. And yet the space to communicate what paired is was really small. Not enough to properly explain people what paired is, what we are offering, and our featuring, what is our main feature, and so on. So it was really, really complex for us to build our brand awareness.
Yeah, I think it's really important for people that are getting started to understand like the different formats available and the size that is the space that is required for the influencers to be able to explain what your app or your product is about for it to make sense, right? Because if you're advertising a match 3 game, well, people have seen match 3 games, it might be a different theme, a different storyline, blah, blah, but it's going to be rather easy, right? But then when it's something that is a bit deeper in a way, we definitely need more space. And I think that's also, one of the reasons why you moved to then YouTube and podcast. So can you tell us more about those two and like the sort of formats that are working best for you?
Yeah, indeed, I'm fully aligned with what you mentioned. That's one of the main reasons why we moved to podcast and YouTube, because there you have this 60, 90-second sponsorship segment integrated within a video that is like 45 minutes video or 30 minutes video, but they are way longer. And those 90 seconds are only about your product, only about the experience of this creator influencer had with your product. So it is incredible the difference. You completely, we could see the impact on our traffic, on the quality of the traffic, the conversion rate as well, as soon as we started exploring and testing YouTube and podcast. So this is, indeed, as I mentioned, the main reason. And on the other side, also on podcast and YouTube, we started testing different vertical as well. So it wasn't, when you think about paired and relationship care, you think, okay, then it should be the perfect fit for vlog, for family content, for parenting, for example, or anything related to relationship and couples. It wasn't the case. It was our first assumption as well. We were like, okay, let's start. I mean, there are so many vlogs out there, really crazy amount of YouTubers sharing their day-to-day life, sharing their experience as a parents or building a family, And we started testing them, but it wasn't a fit totally. I mean, we had like a
That must have been surprising at the beginning when you started seeing the results, because obviously, as you said, it must have been like an obvious choice, and then in the end, it
Exactly.
wasn't. So did you try it? Like, did you understood what was wrong in those verticals?
I think it was the reason why people watch those videos. I think it's just people are noisy, so they love have watch other people's life,
Gossips.
compare their own life with them, and that's it. But they are not there because they trust them or because they want to follow their advice, suggestion, or anything. That I think was the reason and where we see the real difference.
And I think, as you were saying, like people are really nosy, they want gossip. And I think for your app, they need to find influences that, are inspiring in a way. Because sometimes, especially with like family channels, vlog, lifestyle type of creators, like many times the content is tailored for the algorithm with clickbait type of titles and thumbnails where it's like challenges and pranks. And it doesn't look like the quality type of content where you would look at it and be like, oh, wow, they look like they have an amazing life. They seem really like, fulfilled. And that's because, maybe they've gone through some therapy or some with the help of an app like Paired. And I think that also makes a big difference. As you said, like it's why people watch the content rather than just like, okay, the vertical and the audience on paper, it matches. But then the intentions behind it, it's not what you want actually.
Exactly. And that was one of the first learning we got testing YouTube. And so this was the reason why we started exploring different vertical. We even explored, mystery, crime, this vertical that on paper shouldn't really be a fit for the brand, but eventually is where we found promising user.
True crime it's a really interesting genre because, as you said, like it might not seem to be on brand, especially because some true crime videos are really like horrific, right? It's like dad murdered their 4 children and like tied them to the bed for like 7 days. And it's like, you don't want to be associated with that. And I've had some clients pushing back on working with true crime creators because they feel like it's not on brand with the app and like the atmosphere that they want to give. But at the same time, the audience that you want to target, those female 35 plus, are watching this type of content and they're very active. And so I think it's really a matter of between finding the balance between making sure that you stay on brand, but at the same time also acknowledging where your audience is. As we were saying, like your audience and the intention behind it is like, okay,
Exactly.
I'm a female 35 plus. I want to relax at night and I want to watch a true crime video. Personally, I don't know how that happens and it would not relax me at all. But the fact is, like, women are watching this type of content. So it shouldn't be disregarded, and at least it should be tested and try to see if it makes sense for your app.
Exactly. Plus, another factor that I prioritize when I explore different vertical and influencer is the authenticity and the genuinity of the influencer itself. So you can see how they are engaging with the user, if they feel authentic, if they are genuine when they talk and discuss a topic. And we can see totally a difference when you work with such influencer. The impact is huge on the conversion rate. We can see a jump, an improvement, of course, in people from views to main action in the app, because people trust them, like they are not just influencers, they are part of their life as well.
Exactly.
There's something that they maybe listen every week, every month, and then they trust their advice, recommendation, and so they trust also the sponsor they work with.
Exactly. It's really all about trust. So we've talked about YouTube, and I think the YouTube format is great to build trust because it gives you more space to express yourself. Something that has been on the rise for the past few years is podcast. And you've said that this is also one of your top performing platforms. Can you share a little bit more about what you're doing there? What have you tested? What's working? What didn't work?
Yeah, the approach is really similar to YouTube, honestly. We see similar success in terms of vertical and in terms of topic and approach. As I mentioned, even for podcast, authenticity and testimonial approach is what work the best. People are listening to podcasts as much as they're watching YouTube for the same reason, like they trust the guest the
host.
influencer, exactly, the host, and the influencer behind that. So it's important to work with people that bring this authenticity in the episode as well.
Sorry, I was just going to say, so for people that have never tested podcasts before, for them to understand the different formats, so you have host read, which is going to be the host during the podcast recording, reading the ad read in a way, which is going to be obviously more authentic than versus an audio ad that is then placed
Exactly.
during the recording. Have you tested both formats? And if so, what did you see performed best?
Yeah, I tested both. As a standard approach, we go with the host reading. Well, hopefully not reading, but bringing their own experience. So it's important that even the tone of voice feels like they are bringing their own experiences, just not ad read, let's say. And so this is what we tend to go the most of the time. We tried the other approach only for testing new vertical. So, for example, we want to test fast. We go with the ad read across different vertical, different podcasts, and then based on the result, we can say, okay, maybe this vertical has brought decent results. So let's explore there. Let's find some podcast and hosts that are happy to promote paired, and let's go for the host reading the
Okay. I think there's a lot of skepticism about measurement and attribution in podcasts, probably even more than for influencer marketing. How do you go about that at Paired?
Yeah, indeed. It's tricky. So considering that a paired influencer is a performance channel, so eventually at the end of the day, we want to bring a profitability. So all the metrics we leverage in order to evaluate the success of the channel is related to a performance metric. So we check the CPM, we check the cost per acquisition, we check ROAS. And in order to be able to have visibility on this metric, we either rely on track traffic and untracked traffic. What do I mean? When it comes to influencer, you cannot expect people to click on a dedicated track or to use a dedicated promo code. People are going to watch or listen to a podcast episode and go straight to the App Store and download the app from there. So you lose visibility on where this user is coming from. Even though you provide the code with a special offer, or you ask the YouTuber to ping the link with the special offer in the first comment. You did your best, but of course you're gonna miss traffic, and it can be a different amount based on the either based on the influencer, but especially there are different impact driven by different channels. So what we did at Paired, at the beginning, we didn't have any data. So we started exploring, we started testing, and we built all the learning, all the data, either through the How Did You Hear About Us survey and then through incremental lift studies. After almost a year, we ran all the analysis and we identify specific multiplier per each channel. So, for example, for YouTube, we saw that for each trial that we are able to track, we miss 1.5 trial. For podcast is way higher, is more than double. So every trial we track, we lose visibility on 3 to 4 trial. Why? Because of course podcast is even harder. People are listening to the episode, they're not really watching it.
And
so there is no really.
And the one that you attribute, so that you've measured, like coming from that podcast, is it because they've self-attributed themselves through your survey?
No, because of the dedicated offer and the promo code.
Okay.
So right now we do have a dedicated landing page with an offer, with a dedicated offer per each single influencer. And this is how we try to track influencer. How did you hear about us survey? It was an extra validation. So we either relied on this tracking traffic and then to validate either the organic uplift, so people that we are missing because of the journey they come through, or the long tail impact. We are measuring them through the How Did You Hear About Us survey, which is something that we found to be quite reliable. There is an error bar, of course, but indeed we based on either comparing our uplift incremental studies we run combined with the How Did You Hear About Us results, we were able to safely identify this multiplier, high level, of course, because it's really hard to be able to run this at the influencer level. We see high level, there is a close match, but yes, when it comes to each single influencer, unfortunately, the impact might differ a bit. So some influencer may be undervalued, other may be overvalued because of this multiplier, but it's a safe approach, let's say.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Is this something that was hard to agree on internally with, I don't know, a CMO or anyone else, or was everyone sort of on board? Even like the data team sometimes, because like they're very data driven, and so
Yeah, no, exactly.
like I'm not really sure, so let's be pessimistic. And it's like, well, if you're very pessimistic, then my campaign doesn't have any chance of being profitable.
No. I think it was. I'm not saying it was easy, but since we had all this data, really, we ran it for more than a year. How did you hear about our survey and collect all the data? We ran these incremental uplift studies. We had all the data combined. I ran the analysis myself, and then later on, we hired data analysts that double check my work, and everything was matching. And we are running this analysis every single year. So we double check if the multiplier is still reliable, if there has been any change, if it's still consistent.
Has it changed?
No, honestly, it's been quite
Steady. Okay.
steady, indeed.
All right.
So I would say no, it wasn't hard. I think they are really open-minded in terms of giving a proper chance to this not easy to track channel and go beyond what you can see and attribute. Unfortunately, I mean, not unfortunately, but it's the world that we are living in right now after scan, after ATT policy.
Exactly.
And the GDPR and all the privacy data limitation, it's something that we need to embrace.
Exactly. And I think like over the last few years with all the changes that you've mentioned, like marketers have had to change their mindset and just accept that they're not going to be able to measure perfectly everything. And that's making a difference now because you see a lot of marketers turning to alternative sort of user acquisition channel like podcast, like influencer marketing and everything. As you've done a lot over the past couple of years, can you share what's your sort of methodology when it comes to testing and any tips for anyone that is starting influencer marketing?
Yeah. Well, when it comes to kick off influencer marketing, I think it's important to test Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, podcast. So you need to choose potentially at the beginning you need to prioritize because it depends a lot about your budget, the resources you have internally and so on. So I would say prioritize type of channel. It might be Instagram and TikTok on one side, which are short video, or podcast and YouTube on the other side, which is more of a long video with this sponsorship segment, like 60, 90 seconds. If I have to be honest, I would go with YouTube and podcast, especially if your app, if your product, it's something that needs a deeper explanation. If it's a video editing app where the focus and the goal is really clear, everyone knows what is it, you can go easily with Instagram and TikTok and push for this viral content. I would say yes, go for that. But if it's a more complex product like Paired, where you need to explain what is a relationship app, because it's really new, nobody knows what is it, then I would say go for this 90-second sponsorship content. And when you prioritize the channel you want to go ahead with, then it's about 3 different stage or phase, let's say. The first phase is about identify those vertical that work for your product. Start with smaller deals, targeting influencer with low CPM. Do not shoot for the high CPM, those macro influencer with a crazy number of followers and views. Just start small.
How did you find at the beginning what were a good CPM, as low CPM, high CPM?
It was more based on the assumption. So we started, I rely on the agency first. That's the good part, about working with agency. You rely on their internal knowledge, especially if you know nothing about influencer marketing. I would say either go with an agency or with someone like you.
Thank you.
Exactly. So someone that has the expertise and can help you at the beginning. And then in terms of CPM, we ran first test, and then I saw what are the CPM that can lead to profitability, even in the worst case scenario. So taking the worst case scenario, conversion from view to purchase, I was able to say, even if we are exploring investing budget on vertical that we don't know anything about, at least we have a good chance to be close to be profitable if we have this CPM. I don't know, like in our case, it was below $20 or around $20.
Can you share an average or like a range for this conversion rate from views to purchase?
I would say within 0.02% to 0.04%.
And that's for the US.
Exactly.
Working on YouTube and
Views
podcast.
to real purchase. Exactly. It was podcast and YouTube specifically. Yeah. And based on that, I was making my case scenarios and say, okay, let's go with this one, that one, and so on. And we were like saying, okay, these are the vertical we want to test. These are the deal. We are going to go ahead, save deal. And we run the test. We identify what were the profitable verticals. And when we identify those profitable, or at least promising verticals, that's the time where we started phase 2, which is optimization. Once you have your vertical, then it's time to scale the budget and to start testing with different ranges of CPM, different tone of voice, different topic, different approaches, still within the same vertical. The idea, the goal here is to identify those influencers you can build a long-term relationship with. It's super important. Being able to close this long-term relationship, it allows you to either have better price, better relationship with influencer. They know how to market your product. They're really flexible, even in terms of either the relationship, the content, even they might give you a bit more space than usual. So it's really great, but it's super hard to be able to get to that point.
How many would you say recurring sort of creators you work with compared to all of the influencers that you've tested? Just to give us an estimation, a rough estimation for people to understand how rare this is.
You mean in percentage?
For example?
Let me make some calculation really quickly. It was around 1%.
So it is very valuable, but at the same time, it's very rare. So
yeah, exactly. It's super rare. But when it happens, for example, I'm in a relationship with an influencer we found back in end of 2022. And we are still working with this influencer still now. And it's still performing, which is great, because at the same time, the influencer is growing as well. So they are reaching a different audience. They are building up on terms of views. But then you close the contract with the CPM you agreed years ago, which is the best part.
They're not
Especially
revising
now.
the prices? I'm surprised.
Some of them, yes. It depends on how you close the deal at the beginning. If you had like a long-term relationship, like for example, with this influencer, we closed the deal for like 2 years minimum at the same price. With another one, unfortunately, it was shorter. They weren't really comfortable to have these long deals. That's the other common case where people, they don't want to commit for longer than 6 months, for example, or 6 episodes in 1 year, and then they review the CPM and the deal afterwards, which what happened really recently. I might have told you about this, that unfortunately with one of the influencers, they almost doubled the price, and now it's not
It
anymore
happens.
affordable for us.
Does that mean that you pay them on a CPM basis? So whenever, like in time, they grow or actually decrease in terms of average views per video, then you're safe.
Yes, exactly. This is what we see working the most on YouTube and podcast. On Instagram and TikTok, honestly, this never happened. Most of the influencers, they want to be paid by flat fee, which is something that we all the time we used to try um, to negotiate, try to combine it with some bonus. For example, we are going to pay you a flat fee, but if you reach a certain percent of views, then you unlock X K dollar bonus and so on. Try to tidy it up a bit with the performance.
I think it's a great way to sort of mitigate the risk.
Yeah.
And so for people looking into long-term deals with creators, the way you're doing it with CPM is probably the best one because it's safe on your side should the views decrease, right? And it happened to me in the past. And so now if I'm signing a flat fee deal on a long-term basis, it's probably going to be like a maximum 3 months in advance just for me to make sure that, their views are not going to be decreasing drastically and for me to end up with like a double CPM 3 months later.
No, exactly. Plus another great thing we try to include in every single deal we close is the minimum view granted. So especially again with YouTube and podcast, this doesn't apply on Instagram and TikTok. They are never happy to go ahead with this. But on podcast and YouTube, if an influencer doesn't reach a minimum view per video or per episode, we can provide another sponsor segment in the next video free of charge, which is another way to mitigate the risk, especially if you want to go ahead and risk a bit on the CPM.
Exactly.
That's
a really good way to ask for like compensation and agree on like whatever the
exactly.
format is gonna work best. Sorry. Earlier you mentioned having some promotional codes. Can you tell us a bit more about your strategy there?
Yeah. So usually when it comes to influencer, we always try to incentivize user to go through web in order for us to be able to track them. And in order to incentivize this user, we give a special offer. For example, standard offer we have is 7 days free trial with 25% off. Subscription. We tested a different approach. We tested longer trial. We tested 50% discount with no trial, but nothing really improved, let's say, the conversion rate compared to the standard offer we have. People want to try the app. So they want to try the app first and they want a discount. So bigger discount with no trial was really a failure, and longer trial with no discount, it was another failure. So right now we found this sweet spot, but it doesn't mean we are stopping testing. Honestly, we every quarter we try new approaches, prioritize different monetization strategy. I'll always try to keep inspiration from other business investing a lot on influencer and see what they are doing. But usually it seems that in general, discount plus the trial is the standard approach across most of the business.
Definitely seems like a winning strategy. And if you can save a little bit of time for other people who are trying the same, then amazing. But as we said, I think like every app is sort of different. The behavior of the user is going to be different. So I would still recommend to test, even if it's a small budget, but at least now maybe you have a shortcut and you know, okay, winning strategy should be probably a trial plus then a discount.
Exactly.
All right, let's wrap up the episode. I'm going to ask you 3 questions and I'd love to hear your take on those with a very short answer from like top of your mind. Okay?
Okay, I'm scared.
All right. So first question is, what's one thing marketers should stop doing in influencer marketing?
I think it's important for business not to give up. They need to keep testing when it comes to influencer marketing. You won't be able to find a win within a couple of months. It did take almost a year for us to be able to properly turn influencer marketing into a profitable channel.
Because in the end, like there's so many ways that you can fast forward your learning curve. And it would be a shame to want to do it on your own and having to spend loads of money when, you know, you could have a proper testing framework, understand, okay, what do you want to test? How do you want to test it? What are the questions that you want to answer? Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked with my second question. What's one strategy, tool, or tactic you think marketers should start applying today?
I'm gonna repeat myself. Diversify influencer channel. I know that people, and I was the first one. You know, when I think about influencer marketing, the first thing I comes to my mind is TikTok, Instagram. But there are so many opportunities out there, especially as you mentioned at the beginning, within podcast is raising. There is really little competition there. It's tricky, I know, but it's an important channel to try, long form channel like YouTube and podcast.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. And then one last question. What's a proven approach you think marketers should continue using for long-term success?
Testimonial endorsement. See, most of the business that are doing influencer on YouTube, podcast, they tend to have this sponsored content really around testimonial, where the influencer bring their own experience, the authentic experience with the product on screen. And we tested the difference. We really measure the impact of having an influencer testing the app, using the app, bringing the screenshot on screen where you could see them playing or using the app with the partner, or even the partner. We had someone that was happy to bring their own partner on screen and showing how they were using the app or playing the quizzes and the question, and they really smash in terms of results.
I'm not surprised. And this is also something that I saw in the creative report from AppsFlyer and in UGC ads, how testimonials and reviews tend to perform better than just like someone reciting a whatever script.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Jessica, for sharing all your knowledge about influencer marketing. Really appreciate it. Where can people find more about you and your work?
I think LinkedIn could be the best place.
Okay, perfect. So let me wrap up the episode. That's it for today's episode of Influence Unpacked. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and follow for quick, actionable tips on influencer marketing for mobile apps and games. And if you're looking to dive deeper, check out my guide on the AppsFlyer website. It covers everything from setting up your first campaign to best practices and tools to measure your success. You'll find the link in the post, and I'll see you next time.